Hi, Phil. It's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
What a time we're living through, right? To be alive, to be alive
What a busy week.
and to be so okay, mentally okay in this moment in time. How do we be mentally okay wherever we are in life? How do we be okay?
Interesting that you mentioned mentally, because we've talked a little bit about Virgo, but is the ruling sign of Virgo, and I believe it's exalted in Virgo. So there's lots of mentality around what is going on leading up to and occurring during the eclipse.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, I think so we're talking about the eclipse today and why this is such a profound time. And yeah, what's leading up to it, right? What led up to the lunar eclipse, now what led up to the solar eclipse, and how we're doing with our in our mindset, right? And you could think about, and it's interesting because I think right now we could see that Mercury will be with the eclipse is in Libra, which so here, how am I doing around other people? What am I blaming other people on? Why am I hurt? Why am I suffering? What's my mind? Like there's something with our mind that's imagine
Hmm.
if the mind could go crazy and how do you learn to quiet your mind and how do you do that? Like how do you not suffer? I was like, okay, like today would be a great day that life is hard. Life, there's nothing about life that's not hard. And how about if you're told that at a very young age?
Yeah, and again, going back to Mercury, I think that's an energy that can produce a lot of anxiety. It's just by its nature has an edge of anxiety to it. So how can we bring discipline to the mind, which is we'd be doing ourselves a great favor by doing that.
Yeah, it makes me think, well, first of all, I just think I love Virgo energy. Like I don't have any energy in my chart, but I have a lot of friends that are Virgo, and I have a lot of people in my life that have very strong Virgo energy. And there's this desire to always make things better, like on the higher side. So if you could look at this lifetime right now and like make things better. But here's the thing. They also, you're right, they worry. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of what ifs or doubts and fears of not being able to go back to why. And I think it's you cannot control anything, and our human mind thinks it can. And so that is a perfect way to what you said. How do you discipline the mind? How do you learn to have habits? And well, like Virgo, it's your habits. What are you doing daily with your time? And what are you listening to? What are you putting in your information? Mercury, I mean, you think about Mercury, it's information. So what information are you putting in there?
Hmm.
So
And how do you want to curate that information so that you keep what's important and you dismiss what isn't in your best interest? What information are you holding on to that doesn't serve you? I know that I do that. I hold on to lots of information that's not really serving me. And I'm not talking about trivia, which I love, or gossip, which I love even more. I'm just talking about I'm just talking about things that my mind can dwell on when it doesn't really need to.
well, yeah, and I like that because I'll say to you, we could ask ourselves, right? Is what I'm thinking about serving me? Is it making my life better? Is this thoughts in my head improving my life? And if they aren't, maybe it's not for my highest good. And then I could how do I learn to let it go? And so it's an interesting thing because I'm so sorry because I'll say to you, I don't know if we did talk about this, but you lost your cat a couple weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
during eclipse season. And
Yes, in Virgo.
that
Well,
loss is so painful and
yeah.
it's so easy to hurt, I'll say.
Hmm.
And so, would you mind talking to us about it? Because we were talking about it. I was like, I think we should stop because it's a great lesson for us during eclipse season on how to take care of your mind.
Yes. I lost my cat about 2 weeks ago, and I had him and his sister since they were kitties, brought him home in a cardboard box. So I've had him for 18 and a half years. And
Which, wait, we're going to say the eclipses are a nodal cycle,
right.
right? And so we're going to say thank you so much for living through a whole nodal cycle, literally, and a whole experience, a Virgo experience with these beautiful cats. So just so I make that clear, how that's pretty profound in itself. But go on.
Yes, and so you and I were talking about a conversation that I had with my mother, and that's, you bring up that cycle, and there's meaning to that. I know there is, and my mind and my heart is open to that idea that this creature was brought into my life at a certain time, and that we went through this long shared relationship together, and then that relation cycled out, and I watched him die on my bed, stop breathing, and slowly I could see the light leaving his eyes and his breath get very labored and all of it. And it was just old age because I had brought him to the vet and asked him to do a full checkup. Mostly, I wanted to know if he was in any sort of pain. He wasn't telling me that he was, but I wanted to be sure. And then I just let the process happen. And it did feel like he was slowly leaving me. He was not as alert and he was slower, but he was still letting me know what he wanted and what he didn't want. But he became less interested in all those things. And
And you
I,
said something so interesting because before we got on the call, you said something like, my life has to adjust now that he's left. And I thought that in itself is what's happening during these eclipses. Your daily life is asking for an adjustment. So I would just like to ask how, because I'll say to you, I'm sure you're very hurt and I am my heart, right? And how are you practicing adjusting even when you're really hurting?
right.
Makes
And
sense.
it's all very sixth house, isn't it? Right? Daily habits, routines, being efficient, and just taking care of the fundamentals. Also, pets are sixth house. So it all it all is part of that archetype. And it's been surprising about how I readjust because I realize in my daily, you know, activities how much they were all designed for my cat. Leaving the patio door ajar, or of course, feeding and cleaning up, but there were so many other things that I do during the course of the day, and then I have to stop myself and say, I have to readjust here. You know, he doesn't have his own spot on the bed anymore. The spot's still there, but I don't. It's not reserved anymore. And so there's just so many things. Like I gave some stuff away to my neighbor who has a cat, uh, and I'm glad I was able to do it. I mean, even though I knew those things had meaning for me, I just wanted to do it because it felt like um, a gesture of gratitude, which is really the overriding feeling that I have. It just, even though it's painful, I also know that my life is richer because of it. And that's one of the things that I keep saying. My cat taught me so much that I didn't know anything about. And even in the process of death, my cat taught me so much. this transition that I'm going through is it's unsettling and it's sad, but it's also deep, you know, and I'm so glad that you understand what I'm talking about, Courtney, as somebody who has pets, because I wasn't really a big fan of cats when I got my cats. Isn't that interesting? Um,
I
but
say to you, and
I,
you never could imagine loving something so much. And,
yeah.
you know, it's interesting because I'll say it's fall and people have had their kids leave for college. And I know, right? And so it's a very similar feeling to what you're experiencing, right? It's like all of a sudden you're responsible to make them meals or cook for them. And then all of a sudden they leave and they go on with their life, right? I'll say to you, he left and he went on with in his way, right? And then what do you do next? Like, how do you adjust when things change and everything changes, right? Like, that's everything changes, right? It's like the seasons. And it's actually very interesting because the eclipse, did you realize I actually was, because it's also the Jewish New Year, it's happening on the fall, like on the first day of fall this year. I mean, it feels very profound. And just like the leaves change and it feels like the trees die in a way, all the things leave. And so to lose a pet, I do know how I was with a pet. I don't think that, and I think it hurts so much to lose a pet because you love them so much. And it's one of the safest loves because they just love you. They just don't care about your name and they don't care about what you look like and they don't care if you smell bad. They think you're like the greatest thing in the whole world and they love you. And where in life can you feel that kind of love? It's very rare. And so
Mhm.
I think that I think animals are one of our greatest teachers, even in the sense that they're not in their head. They're just totally present in the moment. And they there's something amazing about that. And their love. I mean, if you love them, they will love you.
Isn't it amazing that you can see how emotional your pets are? When you get to know them, you realize how much emotion, how much emotion plays a factor in who they are and how they behave. It's almost all emotion.
Well, yeah, and they have a personality, right? Like you can't just go get another cat and then hope it fills that spot because it won't. I mean, each animal has a different presence, just like each. That's also very interesting because I'll say I think that this is a profound conversation in the sense that every animal has their own personality and every human has their own personality. And we have this idea of what perfection is, and it's based on what, right? If you judge yourself against somebody else,
Mhm,
that's there's no truth
mhm,
to that, right? How about if you knew you were enough,
mhm,
right? The
mhm,
animal doesn't have a mind to think it's not enough. It knows it's whole. And I think that that's what we're supposed to learn. And I think we're all at this point where how can we not have a judgment of where we are, who we came from, and respond more like the animal responses to the moment, not by it's interesting.
mhm.
Okay, I have a dog and a cat, and the dog and the cat have a pattern of behaving. And when the dog went to go to a place to stay at someone's house for a couple of days, and so then the dog came home and responded differently with the cat, and then the cat responded differently to them. And I think that's a metaphor for this moment in time. How are we going to speak to each other? And are we going to come from where we've always come from, if that makes sense? Or are we going to change how we speak to one another?
Well, if there was ever a time to reset, it's definitely now at the eclipse.
Yeah, and I mean the sun, I mean, is going to be at the last bit of Virgo. It's like the mature part. How do I mature into my habits? And for me, I'll say to you, it's not, well, hopefully it's not with my animals. I'm gonna hope that it's not. I'm not learning my lessons through animals, but we went to see Ohio State game the other day, and we had a draw we live in Florida, and we I'll say, I believe that life works out just in mysterious ways. And then my daughter got tickets, first time ever. Someone gave her 4 free tickets to the Ohio game. And we got these amazing seats and this amazing experience. And I'll tell you about that. That was actually really profound, but really exciting time. There's these two Ohio schools that have been rivals, and 10 years ago, the mascot beat up the other mascot. So it's Ohio State versus a different Ohio school. And the mascot's always dream has been to beat up the other mascot. So 10 years ago, that mascot beat the other mascot up. Then, Phil, this time, so they went back after 10 years. They have not been able to play. They've never played. And this time they played. But not only did they play, but these two teams came together and the two mascots, they figured out how to be friends. And the two bands, these two big bands came together and created a show that was so proudly Ohio. And I thought, is this a metaphor for this whole experience of we're all one and that we're not separate and that this belief that we're separate people and we have to rival one another? I was like, and then they made hearts out of the band things. I'm like, am I watching this right? I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I had to walk about a mile or something and I wore boots and I did not wear socks and I was getting these blisters all over my feet. And I thought, oh, I have to change my habits because I'm not taking care of my body the way I should. And my body was hurt, but bothered by it, I will say. And so I woke up this morning and I thought, I have to take a walk. And so that's another experience of you'll see what you don't want by knowing what you do want. But my body was like, I can't just decide to walk a lot when I need to. I have to walk every day to get myself in shape and I have to take care of this body. I have one body. And so I think we're getting a lot of experiences of our body not working, maybe where it gets sick or there's illness. And so there's something about that too, about how important it is to listen to your body.
Yes. And to develop, keep developing habits, keep developing those chores. The other thing that comes to mind in Virgo, which I'm experienced now, is an ever expanding to-do list. I'm to-do list conscious now. Everything is about a to-do list and then sub lists for each bullet point, more sub list. So that's the way my mind's thinking now. And it's cool, it's good. I need to do it so I can keep track of things. But the other thing that I miss about not having my pet is those routines that on a daily basis felt like, okay, it's another responsibility. You know, now I look back at them and say, man, how much those daily chores anchored me. It really centered me. Taking care of my cat made where I live a home, completely different vibe, all because I was, whatever it happened to be, I had to be home at a certain time, or the cat was waking me up at a certain time, which he did. And, I would groggily follow him. He would direct me to his food bowl, and I had to fill it. And it was up to him whether or not he felt like eating at that time. The important thing was that I filled the bowl. And that was our
Well,
daily
and
ritual.
I
And
think
that,
the important thing is that you woke up, right? You had
right,
to wake up and you had a purpose to wake up.
right,
And there is
right.
something very important about just getting up in
Yes,
the morning and having meaning to feeling like you have a purpose. And just feeding a cat is gives us purpose. Like it really does, actually.
1,000%. Absolutely.
And I like what you
And
said about ritual because that's a very Virgo word. I think it go back to the fact that it's a new year. And then this year, last year it was the new moon and the new year was in Libra. This year it is in Virgo. And what's interesting is the ritual of apples and honey. So on Monday, what's such a good, beautiful thing to do is it doesn't have to be Jewish, but taking like cutting up apples with honey and literally doing some kind of ritual around what kind of life you want moving forward. Like, what do you want, Phil? So you could actually cut the apples and eat it with honey, and it's a ritual. And there's something about using rituals in our daily life to be okay, even when We can't control anything else.
Right. It's comforting. It can be comforting, and it can situate you and root you. Even though it's the most mundane thing you could ever imagine at the time that you're doing it every day, it doesn't seem like it's a sacred thing to do. But believe me when I tell you how much I miss those things now. And I feel like, oh yeah, little did I know how much I took these things for granted and how I wish he was here to wake me up too early in the morning, so we could go through that, you know. How many times am I going to let him meow? He knows he's just going to keep doing it until I get up. So I might as well do it now and not wait for one more. And, even though at the time it felt like a battle of wills with my cat, now, now I look at it and, just my heart is just filled with love and joy and happiness about it.
Well, it's so interesting because I one of my when each daughter left the nest. I remember taking a bath and I was running the bath and I got in the bath and I didn't realize that one of my daughters, no matter what time it was, no matter what it was, she must have had like some intuitive sense and she would jump and put her feet in the bath. And I don't think I even realized it, like that she was always in the bathtub or right near me when I was taking a bath, and then she wasn't. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this hurts so much. And how many times she sat in that bath and I didn't even appreciate it. I mean, I very much appreciate most of
Right.
my things, except for it's so easy to take things for granted when they're part of your everyday. And then we only know, it's like, what is that line? Do you only know what you have until when it's gone? But how do we
Mhm.
I think that is actually one of the most beautiful things we can do during this eclipse is what is working in our life and what are we appreciating and putting more attention to that and stop finding fault with it, right? Like like stop complaining, right? Like get
Mhm.
up and just feed the
Mhm.
cat or get up
Mhm.
and do the
Mhm.
chore because it'll make you
Mhm.
feel better in the long run and
Mhm.
be appreciative that you're so lucky
Mhm.
that you can do it. Because you know
Yes.
what? How do you know you couldn't? Like, I mean, how lucky are you
Yeah.
you have your hands and your legs and your feet and your arms?
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
We're so lucky, but we're so able to look at what we don't have.
Yeah. And think about the amazing things, miraculous things that you do in one day. I mean, driving a car is, you know, having a discussion with somebody on the opposite side of the continent. These are all things that are miraculous.
It's really, wait, that we could go to the supermarket and like buy whatever we want. It's kind of amazing. I mean, you
Mhm.
couldn't do that a long time ago. We could get anything we want, literally. You go to the supermarket, if you want it, you could find it within maybe 20 miles or 30 miles of your home, probably, or else you live in the farm country. Maybe you can't. But it is kind of miraculous. How do we see that how are we able to see our daily life and just getting that we get to wake up as a miracle? Because
And
it can be taken away in a moment's time.
yes. And I think there's so much Virgo energy involved in this because each person is contributing to that process. Each person is doing their work conscientiously and the best their ability. So the guy who's driving the truck, even the guy who's sorting the produce, he's picking out the produce that's acceptable and what's not. The farmers who raise all these things. Well, think about that incredibly complex cycle, and everybody is using their mind and their legs and their hands and their heart to put in that work every day.
Well, it was so interesting. What I thought was so interesting about COVID was for a moment's time, everyone got over themselves. Of course, it did change. And I think this is so interesting. There was a moment in time right in the beginning of COVID where everybody was appreciating the workers. the people working at the supermarket, the people that were at the hospitals, right? The people were willing to risk their life literally for other people. And what's interesting was all of a sudden people were speaking like that. They were speaking like with such appreciation and such love, and also seeing their oneness. And then it's interesting because society ripped that apart, right? Decided to rip us apart from one another. And I think, wow, how about if we kept on? Do you know when I go to the supermarket, do you know what I say? Thank you so much for working here, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't
Mhm.
be able to be here right now. And
Mhm.
I actually go to people. I do not want to go to the places where I'm getting checked out by a machine. I like
Mhm.
people, and
Yeah.
we need each other, and we need people. And there's nothing wonderful about these machines checking us out. Nothing.
Right. Right.
Because we need jobs and people need jobs
Mhm.
and we need
Right.
people to
Right.
say hello to us. So that supermarket person, you're right, or that person in the farm, how many people did my food have to go through? How many people should I be appreciative of just to be able to have this food? And how come we don't
And
appreciate the people at the hospitals, even when they don't choose to live with the pandemic? Like, how can we appreciate people for their jobs and their service?
they're all specialists at the details of the specific tasks that they do. They're all specialized people, and because they're specialized, they do it really well. And for that reason, we all benefit. All these things have to get, from out of the earth and into the supermarket by a certain time. They travel great distances. Everything has to be coordinated. It requires so many people to make that happen.
Yeah, it's our day in. This is the energy of our day in and day out life. And seeing what we're doing in our daily lives, and if it's good for us or if it's not good for us. And if it's not good for you, we don't have to do it anymore, right? What habits are not working for you anymore? And you're supposed to be seeing them very clearly, and you are going to get very uncomfortable. The universe is showing you, they are making you uncomfortable. It might even be, you could be talking to someone that doesn't make you feel good. And you'll be like, maybe this isn't working for me anymore. And just because you've always talked to that person doesn't mean you have to keep on talking to them. Does that make sense? It's like what my husband said, that's okay. I have to stop saying it doesn't make sense, right? Like it's a habit, and it's a habit.
Yeah.
It's a habit that I can practice letting go of.
Hmm. Yeah, we all have them, and that's why they're habits, I guess. They start to feel so familiar that you can't imagine who you would be without that habit, even though it's, you imagine what would my life be like without this habit?
And all of the planets, I mean, so even if you're not an astrologer, you are an astrologer, every single planet now, all the outer planets are retrograde. And it's asking us to rethink, to re-examine, to rethink how we do everything, like the structure of our life. What are our beliefs? Why do we believe it? If if I wasn't raised by the parents I was raised by, who would I be? Like, who are we? Like, it is like we are supposed to be asking this, and we're supposed to be really thinking about this, and we're not. Okay. It's so interesting how you said each person has their own skill, Phil. So in Israel, there's with the army, everybody goes to the army. It's not like the rich people or the poor people or the doctors or not. Everybody is, because everybody matters and everyone is considered equal in a way, but not really equal. But yes, everyone means something and matters, and everyone has a skill and they're as important as another. And I know this because my mother wanted my brother to go when he was younger because his father was a doctor, and she wanted him to know that just because you're not a doctor doesn't mean that you're not incredibly important in this world, that every job has a meaning and that what you do really matters. And he does. He's a bridge operator. And I will say to you, it's such an important job to be a bridge operator. You know what a value and how important that bridge operator is, because the moment the bridge operator doesn't do his job well, how dangerous it is. But we don't even appreciate the bridge operator. You just think, oh, the bridge goes up and goes down on its own. It doesn't go up and down on its own. A person is making sure it's safe for you. And it's a lot of work to do that.
Yeah, we've seen some very tragic accidents happen, right? Big, big ones, really sad stories.
Because a
And,
person wasn't conscious, because a person wasn't doing their job in a conscious
right,
way.
right,
But we
right. And
don't.
it wasn't even bridge operators' issue. It wasn't the bridge operators themselves, it was the boats. But it's
Well,
still,
it's interesting. Do you know how much work actually, you know, how much work goes into being the bridge operator? I'll say it's probably the bridge operator's fault because the bridge operator has to know, has to watch everything and go. And that, like, a lot of
right,
those problems are actually somebody not being conscious of what their job is in the moment.
I see. I see.
So, yeah,
Well,
isn't that
well,
amazing how important
yeah,
it is? And maybe the boat too, but each person has to be responding presently and very intentionally.
right. I mean, I can't imagine how stressful it might be. And I also think about air control operators, how incredibly important that role is.
Yeah. And so our daily, I think this is so important to see during eclipse season is how can we see every single thing in our day? And instead of just going unconsciously through it as we always do, how do we take one step at a time with radical awareness of where we are and who's affecting our life, or what
Hmm.
animals are affecting our life, or what people are
Hmm.
affecting our life, and what we like about it,
Hmm. And
right?
why it's important, even though it might seem incredibly mundane. Why? But it's important. It's something to be grateful for because it's the foundation of your daily existence. And without it, for me, without it, it's, you know, I would feel adrift. And, I'm feeling that way a little bit now mentally, but physically in my daily routine, I'm still, you know, watching the clock and I got my to-do list and checking things off. And so I'm still in I'm motoring forward. That hasn't stopped. But I have a different relationship with it now.
Yeah,
I,
but maybe it's
I
not motoring forward. Maybe it's you were of service to your cat. You gave
mhm,
meaning. It gave you meaning. And so maybe that's it.
mhm,
Maybe it's not us motoring forward and just doing a to-do list, but is what our to-do list making a difference for somebody else? Or am I just doing things, I don't know,
mhm,
like the cat, you know why you're feeding the cat. It's to keep the cat alive.
mhm,
That's your purpose.
mhm,
Makes you think about maybe we're maybe are some of our to-do, not you, I'm not saying you, but it is interesting to think about to-do lists and think, is it actually giving my life meaning? And why am I doing this?
mhm.
Maybe our to-do lists, we don't need to be doing them. I don't know. I think this is a very interesting thing just because we've been said we're going to do it, or like what are our commitments and why are we committed in this way?
Right. Well, I definitely wouldn't, it would not be on my to-do list unless it was serving me in somehow, that I didn't find it valuable in some way. It's just that I'm way more appreciated. I appreciate it so much more now because I understand that that it's more meaningful than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah. I love that. But maybe we have to look at all of our to-do lists, that it's that meaningful, that it
Mhm,
makes such a big difference. And we don't know how much we're touching other people's lives by what we're doing.
mhm, mhm,
So it's our daily experience matters so much what we do in a day.
mhm,
How are you doing with waking up? I have a question. So I'll say to you, because that I think is a very important ritual about like waking up at the same exact time every day to feel good. So I'm
mhm,
very good at that. And I used to not be good at that at all, but I am very, that is one thing I'm very disciplined at. And I'm also one of my one of the things that I will do no matter what is meditate. I 7 minutes in heaven, I call it, and I no matter what I'm doing, I sit my ass down and I first thing and I get over
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
So what do you do on your day, like in the morning now that you had to adjust?
Well, I have to find new rituals, right? Because I still get up at the same time, but there's really, I don't have to get up and put on my bathrobe and go to the kitchen and do all the things and make sure he's content. And then, I could go back and take a quick nap before I got up. So again, it's a period of adjustment for me, but I'm not someone to linger in bed. I guess after 18 years of get jumping out of bed early in the morning, it's not something that you know, you you don't fall out of that habit quickly.
Well,
So
good.
again,
That's a good habit to be. I think
yes.
it's a very good. There are good habits and there are not good habits. And
Mhm.
your cat taught you how to have a good
Yes.
habit. And I think that's,
Yes.
animals. You said animals are the greatest teachers, and I think animals are the greatest teachers because they're very intuitive. They're very instinctual. If they're hungry, they eat. If they're tired, they sleep. It's a
Hmm.
lesson for us. It's
Hmm.
they know. You said your cat kind of had this experience where it wasn't in pain, but it knew. It knows what it needs. And we're supposed to be listening to that. We're supposed to be listening to our own instincts.
Hmm.
And right now, I'll say
Yeah.
everyone's been so tired, and I'm like, you need to rest. And if you don't rest, chances are you're going to get sick and you're going to get a cold, and your body will fight you if you're not listening to it.
Hmm. Yeah. It's the boss that's going to tell you.
No. What are you looking forward to letting go of? I'll say to you, I would like to let go of a lot of habits of myself, of not even like I myself want to remember my own wholeness and accept myself and let myself be kind to myself and always nurturing myself and letting go of the voice in my head that says I'm not enough, right? It's been something I've been practicing for years, but I think right now at this time that I think we're all ready to know that we're enough. And it's not by
Hmm.
what we do.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
just that we wake up in the morning and we are alive and we appreciate ourselves. So that's my hope for my own eclipse journey.
Hmm.
And I wonder what your eclipse journey is bringing you.
I, I, I'm like you, I think, is the sense that, I want to take care of myself, do the things that I need to do and be aware of them and be supportive, like be my own coach when I say, I'm going to choose to eat this instead of that, or I'm going to choose to exercise this long instead of not at all. All those things, big and small. But to do them in a way that I have a deeper appreciation for them. And again, back to that word gratitude. Like, wow, I'm taking out the garbage, but you know what? I have two strong legs and two strong arms, and I can do that every day and not think about it. And to not, thank God I can. And then if I'm doing that for myself, then I can be there for other people, right? Should they want me to help them carry their garbage down the stairs? So I'm doing this for me so I can be there for someone else.
Yeah, I think that's such a nice way to think about why it's so important for us to put our own life vests on. Because if we don't put our own life vest on, how can we be of service to anybody else? We can't actually if we don't take our own garbage out and we don't make sure our arms and legs are working and we don't get out of the bed in the morning, we can't help anyone else. And helping somebody else is makes us feel good. It really is an interesting thing, right? It's how do you get over yourself? Like if you actually have a lot of worries or a lot of problems, one of the quickest ways to get over yourself is go see other people and fix their problems. But the
Yeah.
problem is that you can't really fix anyone else's problem. You better make sure you're fixing your own problem. So from a place of wholeness you're going to be a much better helper of some fixing someone's problems. I think of like the garbage being thrown out, right? I'm a healer, I do healing work, and I have to make sure all my garbage is thrown out before I could even help somebody else. I better make sure I'm coming from it's such a good metaphor, Phil. I love it. The garbage. The garbage is so important because it's all my own junk in my head, and I better make sure
Yeah.
it gets out of my head before I can even be of service to anybody else, or else I'm not going to be of good service to people. So I,
Yes. And so what are you going to, this is what I ask myself. What are you going to say when somebody reaches out to you and asks for help? What are you going to say? Are you going to say, are you going to say, I have to take out my own garbage first? Or I'm having trouble with my garbage, so I can't help you. What are you going to be? Are you going to be in a condition yourself where you feel confident that you can provide some sort of help? Even if it's doesn't, even if it's not as much as you think it should be or could be, even if you're just saying yes, I can help you. Here's how I can help you. That's way more than being in a space yourself where you can't help others. And that's never a fun place to be.
yeah, I had this visual when you were talking, and it's imagine that we're in a cave and you and I are both in a cave and there's no lights out. And then we better figure and we could oh like a metaphor, like we're you could pick up the phone and say, can you help us out of here? But the person has to be on like have a light on the other side saying, okay, I will show you. My batteries are in and I'm gonna put the light on and I'll show you a way. And when we call someone for help, our hope is that that person can help us usually. Intuitively, if we call someone to help us, that person's ready to help us. But that person has probably is not suffering so much. I go back to suffering and that word suffer and worry and anxiety and fear. We're not meant to be, we're not meant to be so wrapped in our own mind and our own fears because so it's so not healthy for us. And we can't help anyone when we're in there. So how do we know, how do we allow ourselves to take care of ourselves so that people can call us and say, can you help me?
I think it's again another Virgo theme of keep working at yourself, keep working on yourself, even when it's a complete drag, even when it's fearful, even when it feels like you're not getting anywhere.
You are.
Keep, yeah, you are. You are.
It's
Keep at
so
it.
slow and incremental. It's so
Yes.
slow and
Like,
incremental. And you are getting somewhere because even that you're conscious
yes.
of it, you're getting
Right.
somewhere.
Yes.
Slow, steady,
Yes.
non-judgmental.
Yes. And you feel like, oh, I fell on my ass. I tried it again. I fell on my ass. Or whatever you want to say to yourself. That's just mental chattering. The fact that you got up and did it again, and if you keep doing it, you will succeed. If it's a new habit and it feels again like torture, and you feel like you didn't do it right or you didn't do it perfectly or whatever you want to say to yourself, the fact that you did it and that you did it again, that's that's winning the game right there as far as I'm concerned. Just
Yeah,
keep
and you
getting
got
up.
over
Keep,
yourself, right? You got over yourself to go do it. And it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be what your idea is perfect. It's
Right.
it's practice. It's
Yeah.
skill. It's learning a new skill. It's getting over how it's always been.
Mhm.
To break a habit. It's very slow and steady, and you just have to have patience with yourself. So yeah, if you're even having this idea of what you're doing that you could improve on, that's amazing. Amazing.
Mhm.
It really it's
I think, in my mind, I think that anybody could be a great musician or be a great athlete. To me, I think that's possible for everybody because you have to stay with it, and hopefully the conditions are right and you want to do it. But I don't really think that there are people who are lucky enough and naturally gifted, absolutely. But I don't think that prevents anybody from being a skilled musician or really good singer, whatever you might. An athlete is another one. I think if you could practice something athletically, you'll become very skilled at it. And
Yeah,
I think
like
people,
the 10,000 hours. It's
right,
something you
10,000
can put
hours.
10,000 hours to, and if you put
Right.
10,000 hours to something, you'll be good at it. But are
Hmm.
you willing to put the time
Right.
into it, right?
Right.
Like an athlete has to do much work. I mean, think about the work and the,
Right.
do you know, in order to be, this was interesting, in order to be an Ohio football, even on the team in Ohio State, you have to be hydrated. They check your hydration, and if your hydration's not right, you cannot practice that day. And if you're a walk-on, then you're off the team, right? So even just think about how much work it would take to be hydrated in the appropriate way to be a
Hmm.
great athlete. Like, you don't even think
Hmm.
about that, but I love that.
Right.
I think everyone could be a great athlete, but are
Right.
they willing to put the time in? And here is a very strong word. Are you willing to put the work in? You could have whatever
Right.
you want if you're anyone probably could have what they want if they were willing to put the work in.
Right. And I think there were enough people around that person to be supportive. That would be a huge help. But I think a lot of people have blocks, me included, who immediately think, well, that's great for them because they're special. I understand why, of course, it makes sense, but the, I, you know, I don't have what it takes. And, it shuts out so many possibilities when you think that if that's the first thing that comes to mind, then you're, you're shortchanging yourself in such a big way.
Yeah, and that's also very Virgo is what about if the possibility, like possibilities, like what do I believe about my own possibilities, right? And what I believe is what I receive. And are we blocking ourselves from our own greatness? You just think about Pisces, that you are magnificent and you are special, and every person is special in their own way, right? Again, we go back to not comparing ourselves to other people, but everyone has something that they're gifted at. Everybody. There is something uniquely special about everyone. It's like, for instance, there's no two butterflies that are the same, and nor should there be. And there's no two humans that are the same. But what is it something that you would want to put the work into or put the effort into in it? And then just putting the time in. It goes back to where your time's going.
Mhm.
It makes me think Saturn's in our timekeeper. How about
Mhm.
if you can believe that you're special, but not
Right.
special because other people think you're special, because you're
Right.
a child of God or a child of the universe, or that there are spirits and angels all around us.
And think about what we all lose because people, for whatever reason, don't reach their full potential. What? Because thinking selfishly about it, we all do lose when someone leaves us too soon or somebody doesn't get the right supportive conditions to bring out the best in them. If they're not, if those conditions aren't met, then that person, not only can't benefit society, they they're just they're unable to contribute. They're unable to do those daily things and accept those routine responsibilities that we all do. And just by doing that, then we're building structure to to the society that we live in. We all are building that structure. And you have to have a certain baseline, back to Maslow again, right? So certain conditions have to be met.
Yeah. But what we're go back to, that's responsibility, right? Is that we each at a certain point of our life have to become responsible for our own body and our own mind and our own self. And if we, and maybe we didn't have all the right stuff, but then we have to choose to make sure that we're going to take responsibility of our day.
Hmm.
We're going to and take responsibility for what skills we're going to put into our place and what we're going to do and what we're going to do with our time and our effort and our daily life. And I'll say what we do matters so much because all we are is what we do in a day. Oh, I mean, all we are is what we do in that moment of time. All we are is what we think. And if we think we're not enough, then the whole world outside will think we're not enough. And that's and we're all so tired of not thinking we're enough, right? Because we need each other. We need each other to know our values, right?
Hmm.
I think that's what you're saying. Am I right? Is when are we going to know that we can make a difference in our own lives, but also somebody else's life, and that each of us matter? Each of us matter. In order to make the society as great as it can be, we better say, I'm in. I'm in.
I'm going to be responsible to myself, and do the best that I can in the world that I live in. Even though it might not, even though I can't make a straight line from what I'm doing in my life to the guy who's living next door. I know that, I'm contributing to the network of a sound society that we need so that everyone can feel safe and children can feel cherished and they can reach their that they realize that they're is loved and that they can sleep safely and understand that everything they feel is healthy and they're innately good. They have innate goodness in them.
And they do. I mean, we all do. I mean, it goes back to what I do in a day. And so even when I think about what you said earlier about getting in my car, well, I better make sure I'm getting in my car and being a conscious driver,
Yep.
I was saying how it's so interesting about marijuana. We were taught at a very early age about alcohol, right? Don't drink and drive. We've been embodied that. And then now marijuana is something that I think we're not talking about. And so people should not be smoking pot and getting behind a car because it would put everybody at danger, right? So what I'm doing in my daily life really does matter, and how I'm interacting. And just by you being conscious and getting in a car very intently
Yeah.
is
And,
is
and
important.
not only, yep. Not only that, you have to have your driver's license, you have to have your registration, you have to have your insurance, and in order to have those things, you have to have money, and then so you have to earn money, but you have to play by the rules so that we can all live safely.
Yeah. So each of us
I
matter.
know it's.
Each of us really matter, Phil. So I'll say I really hope everyone knows how valuable they are and
Yeah.
how much how much they're whole and how much we need them. We need everybody right now, and we need everyone to know how wonderful they are and how much if they take the time to take care of their own self and know
Mm.
this and take care of their own mind.
And brings a little gratitude into your daily routine and just dwell on it and just pause for a second and think about all the miraculous little things that had to occur for me to be able to take out my garbage.
Just to wake up in the morning, how
Yep.
a miracle that is. Simply to
Hmm.
be able to get out of bed and face the day, however it's going to be, is miraculous in itself. It's sometimes much easier to take your head and put it under the covers and say, I want to go back to sleep. We're all waking up, Phil. So
Hmm.
it's an
Yes.
exciting time and very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll say thank you so much for sharing your story about your beautiful Parker and you're sharing your heart
Yes.
with us because Um, you showed us just by talking about Parker what love is.
Hmm. Yeah. And again, I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah. And we're all so lucky. I think what is love? And I say there's Ram Dass says you can love everybody and you can. All you have to do is see people and see the humanity in
Hmm.
each other and see the person
Hmm.
at the checkout counter and appreciate that person. And there's so much on a daily, every moment. I love that. That is the greatest gift you could ever give us, Phil, is every moment there is something to appreciate. Every moment. All
Hmm.
you have to do is go outside to nature and you'll appreciate, you could see the beauty in nature or anything. So thank you for, well, I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate anyone that's listening to this. And I appreciate that we have these beautiful conversations that I never know where they're going to lead. And I appreciate so much
Yes.
that you let me see you. And I appreciate that you share things with me. And I appreciate that you were and are such a good father. Thank you for being such a good father to Parker. And I'll say, if anyone's listening, thank you for being a mother or father or sister or brother or anything, because your roles matter in how you respond. So may you do
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
See, see you next, see you next time, Courtney.
Thank you.